You have changed my whole life. Your classes have changed like everything for me. So thank you, Professor.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. We invest years and years trying to make courses better, and each person contributes to it. And this conversation contributes to making that course better too, because people can see what it meant to you, the emotion. They can feel your emotion and say, hey, I want something that's meaningful to me too. I want something that moves the needle for me in a way that I can really, truly feel the way it does for Jillian.
I would just say take this class totally seriously and make sure to keep notes for after the class, because if you don't, you will lose all this great information. Keep it, and you're the best person to learn from, man.
Appreciate you, Jillian.
This means a lot to me. I am able to use this in so many different aspects of my life. I think that also it's very innovative. It's very like with the time, like I even have some curb painters coming to my graduation, so that's pretty cool.
Jillian Cormier, welcome back to the show. As we can see, curb culture has evolved since our AI and personal branding class, and you've just finished up our podcasting class, and you have some evolutions to share with us.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. So yes, I was in your personal branding class a year ago, and I was doing, I guess my personal brand at the time was a mix between my curb painting business. I also had my painting parties was the other thing. And then I had, I guess I was in property management for 13 years. So that's something I also included. So I was like a really big bubble of thoughts and, I guess my talents. I didn't know really where I was going with it, to be honest with you. So when I was in your class, although I loved it, and it really was great, I didn't feel really confident. So when I knew I was going to have your podcasting class this semester, I took the entire summer to really niche down. And I think when you niche down, you have way more of an opportunity to go somewhere with it or to get viral or whatever it is, or just people are going to be more interested in something that's a little more, is it niche down? And I just so happen to be a curb painter and I have a really active community in curb painting. And I knew that if I were to just focus on that, I could really, really take it somewhere. So curb culture was born, and it was born in it August when we started the class. And it was cool because I had actually another curb painter that was in Florida. He had a live podcast on Facebook that he was doing, right? He had a lot of people that were interviewing and it was really going well, sort of. He had a lot of technical difficulties, which was making it kind of awkward for some of the people on the show. And he had expressed this a little bit, and I ended up connecting with him and telling him about I was going to be in this podcast class and the little bit I did know about the personal branding course. I kind of gave him a little like, we had a 3-hour conversation, honestly. And I was like telling him we need to pre-record it. It shouldn't be live unless you're like really, really good, or I don't know, unless you got it all together. And honestly, like there's all kinds of cool programs, specifically Riverside FM, that I use that you can use to make these shows like really production wise, like really great. So, anyways, after our conversation, he actually sent out a message to everybody, and it was not my intention to do this, but he was like, we're going to take a pause on this and we're going to wait until we have it like all together, right? So I actually had to ask his blessing essentially. Well, I didn't have to, but I wanted to because I was going to help take over the podcast, right? And he was so excited. In fact, he gave an announcement that Jillian's going to be taking over it. Like everybody that signed up to be on this podcast, we're not going to move it to Jillian. She's going to make it amazing, blah, 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 right? So I got his blessing and I sent out our first week. I think I sent out like for our personas, I sent out a survey for that. But then I also sent out another survey for all my curb painters to like have a interview. To like sign up for an interview. And I had all these different qualifying questions that were going to basically like help me create an episode topic and that they would want to speak about. So that's kind of like where it started, right? Man, it's taken off so crazy. curb culture is now a thing that I've met so many new curb painters from this podcast that I didn't know before. I already knew so many. Like honestly, it's just I feel like I'm making a movement. Let's just say that we got a movement going. So
We
that's
can
kind of
tell
like
you're
where this
super
started.
excited about this community. So it turned from a
Yes,
podcast into a community.
it well, it was already a community. It was a community we had, but now I'm getting the support that I was already a very valued member in this community, but I was trusted, and I think that's why I got the blessings from everybody. But it's become now like something that everybody is like tuning into, and that I'm starting to build. I actually have gotten some partnerships from this. I've gotten two partnerships from this. I have another one that I'm looking into. Waxahachie, yeah, and I'm partnering one with in California right now, and then another one in Dallas. So it's crazy like what this has opened doors for me. I also started a school. It's a spin-off of it's the SKOOL school, and it's a community, but this one has classes on how to be a curb painter. And what's cool about this industry slash this niche is that this is not a saturated niche. Okay. There's not a lot there's a high demand, but there's not a lot of content creators in this, right? So this is perfect for me and all my people. And also another thing about curb painters is we are notorious for gatekeeping information, okay? And it's like for some reason, if they think if you share your skills, that they're gonna somehow build some competition. You're building a competition against yourself, which I don't believe is necessarily true. And that's kind of why I decided that I'm gonna really just take this on and be the first like recorded classes to learn how to curb paint. Because again, like this, or not again, but let me like this business is a very low overhead cost, but a very high return. And it's very easy to get jobs doing curb painting. So anyways, I think that it's blowing up. We know this for sure with Arena's Curb Appeal. They're a very popular viral business in California that is making it popular. It's making it trendy. We're just kind of piggybacking from that. And because we're already been established curb painters, but now we're like gonna make it a thing. So I'm creating a movement, you guys. It's gonna happen, and I'm very passionate about this. So
If somebody was looking for your school community, they would just need to type in curb culture on the school platform.
so I have it also in all of my YouTube. Like for instance, YouTube is where I'm launching all of my episodes. So it's in the bio there. It's in my TikTok bio. Anything that's going to have curb culture will pull up. It will pull up that way. I will also provide links to you as well. So you can find curb painting. You can even look up that way. It will pull up because there's no other curb painting school or community. I'm the first for sure. And so yeah, so as you can see here, like my media kit, I kind of have the first page here. This is an overview of like my trailer. But I guess like purpose. So like I said before, curb culture is going to be creating a movement for all curb painters all over the United States. I'm creating a platform for everybody to be able to showcase their skills and promote their business, and also have their point of view. And it's exciting. I mean, we all are excited about this. And again, I've gotten some followers from just having this podcast, and they're like dedicated followers at this point. And so, anyways, the I'm the interviewer, I'm the host, and I'm the creator. And I have friends all over the United States. All over the United States. I've already interviewed, let's see, I have had 4 episodes. I've got 2 in Oklahoma, 1 in Las Vegas, and 1 in Florida. And then I have 2 coming up in Dallas, and I have several others in California. Some of my partners are in California too. And anyways, so these are about 30 to 40-minute episodes where we're showcasing a specific curb painter in a demographic or an area of the United States. And we have three segments that I go over. So these segments are called Curb Across America. And this is about basically speaking about the like I guess the extreme weather conditions that this you would experience in your area, because we're not like California where it's just all pretty all the time. We do have times where it's not easy for us to go and do a curb because of the extreme weather conditions. So how are we overcoming this? What alternatives are we doing? What other services can we offer? And just like, how are we going to overcome this like slow time of the year? That's what that one's about. Then we have Curb Confessions, which is like a fun little storytelling segment that is basically like, what's your craziest story? Like, what was your craziest client? Or what's a wild job that you were asked to do? So these are fun because we're going to be able to touch or get connected with our audience through storytelling, which is something huge, obviously, that you love to teach us about.
Can you give us an
And it is
example of a curb confession?
sure. So yeah.
It
So
could be
for
from you too.
instance,
It doesn't need to be from a guest. I'm curious if you have
oh
a
yes, yeah.
curb confession.
So, well, let me think. So, I guess one of the craziest things I've ever been asked to do was, okay, I have a couple, but there was one where this lady asked me to do her four cats as the presidents on the mountain, Mount Rushmore. So I would have to create cats as a mountain. And honestly, that was intense for me to do because I hand paint everything. I don't use stencils. So that was like, I didn't end up doing it because the price was a little high for her, but that was wild. I was like, like, not sure if I could, well, I probably could pull it off, but that's another thing. You always say that you can do it because you can. But also, like, I had a couple other ones where I had a curb that took me like good. Well, I had one that took me 3 weeks to do. It wasn't a curb, it was an entire like entryway. And so that one was really cool because I mean, I went through a lot of trial and error there. I ended up getting paid about $3,000 for it. And so it ended up working out really well, but I I guess like that was probably one of the coolest jobs I've had. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it gets a little more into depth with these curb painters, but off of my head, that's kind of two really cool stories that I had. So, but either way, like we do really go into depth with these interviewees, and they always have really cool stories. A lot of them have dealt with a lot of like Karen type people where they're dealing with honestly some tough situations, and so their professionalism and their calm and collective attitude has gotten them through it. And so that was really good to hear. And it's inspiring, honestly, because not everybody would react that way with a situation like that. And then the last one is called Humble Curbs. So the last segment that I have is the Humble Curbs. And that one's going to show your first curb painting to your most recent. And that is, we're just kind of like talking about like the progression and what, how it has evolved and what you've done to get to where you're at. Because I'll tell you what, like mine was horrible and so bad. So and now I make great work. So it's really funny to see it. And those are my segments, but we always have a specific topic that we go over. And I always have researched my guests and I make sure that I know what their strengths are and why I pick them. And it makes them feel really like special because and like know a lot about them, but then also I'm like picking out a skill that they truly do have and that they can talk about and that will be valuable to us and to other painters or into the actual podcast itself. For instance, I had one girl that she started when she was 12 years old. Sorry, I'll get back to that. But let me tell you about the SKOOL community because like I wanted my podcast to be a resource center, a place for us to be able to learn new skills and able to support each other, right? So I started the SKOOL community. It's blowing up right now, and it's it just lowered the price like $10 a month, so I'm able to actually afford it.
How much
I
does it
have my
cost to be a part of
first
your community?
right now. It's $17 to a month to be a part of it. I have one painter from New Mexico that has saw me, and I was the only one that responded to because I guess other curb painters weren't like responding to him. So I responded to him and he was like really excited and he joined my community and he's learning how to be a curb painter that way. And so he's my guinea pig, I guess.
So you're
And
teaching him, you will
teaching
be
him,
teaching others in the community later.
well, no, it's as we go. So actually, our first two classes, one was the kit, what you need to even start. Like you need to buy your supplies. So I have a kit with all my Amazon affiliate links, and they can go in and it's literally $101 start. And that's crazy. Like, I don't think any other business could start with
It
$101.
is crazy,
But
but only if you have the talent.
talent, you don't. That's the problem. I
What?
mean, that's the
I
thing.
think of
Excuse me.
art
Excuse me.
as something that some people can do and some people have to
No,
work really hard to be able to do.
because you use stencils. It's not
Oh, I
hard.
see. Okay.
Yeah, it's not hard. So now this is also a basic curb kit, so it would just be numbers. I'm not trying to get anyone to go and do a bunch of art yet if they're not comfortable with it.
No
We do
cats
have
on Mount
other,
Rushmore, Jillian. I can't do cats on
yeah, we're not doing Mount
Rushmore
Rushmore.
yet with $101.
No, no, you have to spend a little bit more for that. But that's just because you have to get more color and but this is a basic black and white curb that I think anyone would need to start with. That's what you usually are going to start with because you need to get used to it. And I have my partner, 805 Curb Revive from California, and I have been in the industry for the exact same amount of time. And he does really great vinyl pencils. So his are perfect. I mean, they are literally perfect because you're using a stencil vinyl and you can get precision and you can make it look exactly how the picture is using these stencils. That is something that is going to be a premium class that we will have them pay for a bit more because the $17 a month will give you the basics, right? And then we'll have like a little bit upcharge for the vinyl, which is going to be very valuable. And it's something that all the curb painters, they gatekeep. Personally don't know how to do it. That's why I had to pair up with people and more heads are better than one anyway. So it's really nice to be able to have a partner in this. Anywho, that being said, we are my first two classes are branding your curb painting business, so creating a brand and also like figuring out like what your vision statement is and like what your business is even going to be called, and then your kit, right? So that's what we have right now, and he's working on those two things right now. So
That's
we have
awesome.
our other
So
ones coming
it's a
out in the
lot
next
like
couple
what
of
you did for AI and personal branding and podcasting, right? You're giving them the
weeks.
tools to create more.
Exactly. So we're gonna basically make a class for anything and everything that you could think of, like the whole aspect, things that we wish that we knew. But here's the thing: is there a little catch? Is like we had to like really learn the hard way, and this way they don't have to do that. What I mean, like they get to hear the actual trial and errors now, the results, and they get to have it a little easier. So that's kind of a cool thing to think about too for joining our community.
And tell us
So
about
yes,
how
of
you
course.
doing your persona and constructing your persona. Because for the people taking the class, that's the first thing they're going to be doing.
Of
What's your
course.
advice there?
You're right. Right. Okay, so for my persona, here it is. I did something a little different. I made mine into an actual person with a little more creative twist to it. I had fun with the entire class this year. I felt like I didn't do anything normal. I did everything kind of an artistic way, and it made it fun for me. And so instead of like doing a long script or a long document, I made her into a person. I just threw the results of my survey into ChatGPT and it formatted this image of her, which I thought was cool. And I made her into Alex, the creative hustler. Personas change all the time, right? So we're always revolving. This is just what it started with when I started the class, just for purposes of the class. My personas have totally changed. Like, I mean, it really has. I'm now looking for people that have no experience in the industry. I even don't you don't even have to be creative. You just have to know how to use a stencil. So, but here is what I decided. I kind of like based her off of the actual person itself, but a little bit of like me because I'm a painter. I'm a curb painter. But then also, of course, using the results of everybody else's, of all my curb painters that took the survey. So here we have like our personal information, our professional summary, basically somebody that's you has a full-time job but wants to have a creative side hustle. That's because a lot of times people do use this as a side hustle initially. There are a lot of people that do it as their full-time job though. And the age group is really about my age. I'm 35, 6 now. But
Happy birthday.
but yeah, no, thank you. But most of the curb painters are my age, if not maybe a little bit younger, and some of them are a little bit older. So the age range is about like, let's say 25 to 45. As long as you can get on your knees and like paint, always use protection for that though, like your knees. But that being said, as long as you can like get on the ground like that, you can paint curbs. The education, I found out that a lot of them don't have a college education. That's okay. But a lot of them have like they graduated college. I also saw that their values are creativity, self-employment is a huge drive. And then also community building. Okay. Community building, I've never known until I really was a part of this community. This community makes me cry sometimes. They're like, it's the be a part of a community is insane. I never knew it until I became a part of this one. So the interests are like DIY projects, side hustles, creative design, and opportunities to make more money. And then like entrepreneurial drive and stuff like that. Career driven are the psychographics. And then our podcast preferences, like a lot of them, like Spotify, I do produce all of my, I premiere all of my episodes on Spotify, but YouTube is really great and super popular because you can do the shorts, and I've been getting so much traction on shorts. It's crazy. Yeah, like I have them on both, and people do enjoy the YouTube one as well. So, anyways, and it's true that people watch their podcasts on their way to work or on their way home. So having a 30 to 45 minute 20 to 30, 45-minute podcast is perfect for their way home. And so that's kind of what I found out through the survey. And then pain points are like, yeah, so marketing is a huge one for us. It's so hard when you're by yourself. A lot of these companies are by themselves. So being able to like record yourself and content is so difficult. So how do we get past this? And I do have some segments on that. So that's pretty cool. That's what I came up with. So I mean, there's more, but I'm just the gist.
That's great. And what about your trailer? Because that was the next thing, right? After you did your persona, you created a trailer.
Trailer.
Today work. Have you ever noticed those numbers painted on the curbs outside of your house? I told you there's a whole culture, a community, and even a business built around this. I'm Jillian, host of Curb Culture, the podcast that shines a light on curb painters, enthusiasts across the country, building a movement where creativity meets entrepreneurship. Each episode, you'll hear stories, tips, and tricks from self and other talented curb painters. Curb culture isn't just about numbers on the streets. It's creating an opportunity, building a community. It's about giving this underrated art form the recognition it deserves. If you're ready to get inspired, entertained, and maybe pick up your own spray can, subscribe to Curb Culture wherever you listen to your podcast.
Right. How'd that feel watching it after making it so long ago, it seems, right?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's so evolved from what it was. It's crazy.
That's
I mean,
great.
just even the trailer alone.
How did it feel watching?
Yeah, no, it's evolved so much just from that. I remember not feeling super well and just kind of I lost my voice a little bit there. But I was really trying to make it fun and do something a little different by being outside and walking around the neighborhood like we would normally be doing in our industry. And I was just trying to really connect and also be a little funny. I like to be a little funny, but it was cool. It definitely is different seeing that, and you're trying to hit the assignment and do what we're supposed to do for the assignment, and by adding a little creativity. And I just feel like now I would redo my trailer completely now and make it like with the actual episode clips and do stuff like that, like now. But when you start, you got to do it somewhere, and That was it. But it got good responses. I remember the class being pretty cool and happy with the results. So that was
And
cool.
you're walking and talking to camera where a lot of people aren't even on camera. So you right away you're building that connection. But tell us about your interview.
My interviews
Yeah, well,
or
the interview. So we had the podcast assignment, and then we had our first interview assignment. Tell us about that first interview
yes.
assignment and anything that people might need to watch out for as they plan their interviews.
Okay, so my entire podcast was interview based. So, and it was all a video podcast. So the first episode, when I did my first episode, I had um or is Continuous Flow was the company. They were the ones that did the original podcast that I told you guys about. They gave me their blessings, but they're like, well, I want to be the first one to be interviewed. And I was like, okay, not a problem. And so we had actually, before the class even started, we had our assignment, like, we knew what we were going to talk about. So the first episode was basically like what we know about sorry, let me go to it. What do we know about curb painting's history? Where's the origin? And then how do we see its future? How do we and essentially like is its breakthrough moment, right? So we're just wanting to kind of talk about that. And it was a really good first like building block for our podcast itself. So it was a really cool like foundation, I guess. And this kind of like goes over just for again the assignment asking for us to like put as much info about these episodes. Like we definitely want to when we're picking our people for viewing, we want to know about their like about them. We want to have some kind of research background. We want to prepare some really good questions and them a heads up too of what we're going to be talking about so that they can put their thoughts together. It's not live, it's definitely pre-recorded, but that still gives them a lot more confidence coming in when they know what we're going to talk about. At this time, I didn't have my segments, the 3 segments that I spoke about. I don't have those at this time, but he was like my first like guinea pig again. That was really cool. It was a little different, and we also didn't do it on Riverside. We actually did it through Zoom. And so that was a little learning curve too because of the editing process. So I suggest if you guys are gonna choose podcasting recording, I suggest Riverside. I'm sure I know you like it too, Professor, but it is perfect for changing the person, like the track person or whatever. It's great for editing purposes. I mean, there's just so many cool things about it. So and it created this little Jill or this movie notes. Sorry, the podcast like notes. Saying this right?
Yeah. The show notes.
The show notes. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so we got the show notes. So and also want to like try to get all of their handles, like all their social handles together, get their website, their information so people can find them and put that inside of the descriptions and make sure that really setting them up for success and that they're able to really like shine because it's about them and also making sure that you have their logo. And so what I do, I have a process that every single gets or every single interviewee gets. I send a form that's like it's a permission form, provided one, and it's very similar to that. I just kind of changed it up a little bit. It pertained to my actual podcast, but they sign it and they send it back to me before we do anything. And that's so that I can use all of the video for videoing or for promoting and everything. And then also inside of my pod or inside of that form, it also asks that they do the same, that they need to also promote their podcast or their episode so that we get as much views and traction as possible. So that's like how I started. Then I asked that I have a how to prepare for episodes. So like what kind of mics they need to have, like how the background should look, the lighting, everything to set up for like a good podcast. And that's another thing that you do provide in your class. So I made that and I send those 2 things, and then I have them send their first curb, their newest curbs, their favorite curbs. I have them send their logos and also videos that they want to, have in the editing process. So I can put that into the actual final show. That's how I set them up. And then I provide them with a line of what I want to talk about based off of our conversation of why they're on the show. Continuous flow, they got their outline about how we want to talk about the beginning, like where it all began. This was like really cool. Misty and Willie, they were on, and sorry, it's Misty and Willie. They amazing. I mean, it got a lot of people's attention. I also to make sure that we're able to have like a really cool, fun, artistic vibe with our like our art, our thumbnails and stuff. So this was our first one, and it's called kind of like Spend Off From Here. So I created the brand too for Curb Culture pretty immediately, and so it's been on everything, and everyone knows about it. I also made like a banner. I made a couple of t-shirts and stuff like that. So I really went hard with this brand and it initially. So throughout the entire time I've had this, and it goes on to everything, all my forms too. Anyways, we made a thumbnail. I have him painting here. He's also a hand painter. Switched over to stencils now for efficiency, which is totally cool. But connected really hard on this curb painting thing. And then we have the episode here. This one was, I think, one of my longest. No, longer. What was actually super cool that I recorded for an hour, right? I think it was like almost an hour and a half of curb talk. After you actually go through the whole thing and you start editing it, came 24 minutes. Yeah, that's another thing. Y'all should always plan for a couple of hours, honestly, to talk to somebody because, like, with all the editing, it comes down to like 24 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever, after like all the these and or trying to redirect something, or if there's situations where maybe like it's not going the way you wanted it to go, you need to redirect it. And so sometimes you have to take things out. And so, yeah, 2 hours went from 2 hours to 24 minutes. It's crazy.
That means that you're doing a good job with your editing. You're spending enough time on editing because
editing takes forever too, by the way.
It does. It really does.
It took me like 3 to 4 hours to do all the editing. And then like, because it goes through Riverside, and then that's just like getting the narrative. And then I did several things. I ran that, then I went through a Clipchamp, which is how I put all my like clip like fun stuff in it, or adding in like my song, whatever it is. And also I have to put it through like Adobe Podcast for the sound, running that and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it's a lot. And that's why I say I want a producer eventually. Somebody that's gonna like, or like an editor, someone that's gonna go in there and just like edit it for me. That'd be great.
That's a lot of people's first hires. Their first hire is usually an editor or a producer. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it would be. I mean, I see myself going there. I do. So another cool thing was this little virtual pound that we have going on. And every single episode we have a virtual like a curb culture pound. So that's another signature I'm creating. These are fun little. These are beautiful. Look how beautiful they are. Like incredible. And that's just. This is a cool little. This picture is intense, but it's like Riverside has these really cool pictures and stuff. So yeah, and this is his curb art that's just incredible. And so yeah, that was my first episode. So I would say when you're picking your people, definitely it needs to have a purpose for your show, and it needs to give it some good content, but also like give it purpose. Yeah. And then I would say maybe always researching, always making sure that you have your self covered and them covered by having a permission form, which I will say, I want to just give you an example. I'm actually so glad that I did this because we had a curb painter that we ended up finding out that he came back. He was kind of out of the game for a little bit, came back, really well respected when we knew him before his break. Okay. When he came back, he started using all of our art as his art. And he was actually promoting it to to his customers with art on it, and including mine. And I'm talking like, that's not cool, like at all, because you're not even saying that that's somebody else's art. And I'm
It's a
saying like you're
licensing fee,
literally,
basically. That's like a
yeah,
lawsuit waiting to happen.
yeah, and it was on printed documents too, like not only just virtual but printed. So we were so upset, we couldn't believe it. And I commented, I was like, well, thank God I have permission forms for all y'all stuff. I'm like, and I'm not using it as my art either, but the point is like if you're gonna ever use somebody's content, like make sure they have you're either crediting them or you have some kind of agreement. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things have happened, just pure examples of why we do what we do correctly. But so those are my advice. That's my advice when choosing people to interview. So, but I did the entire thing as an interview. So time we were practicing this, and I'm still continuing my podcast. I've 12 episodes for the first season. The second season, I hope I'll have a sponsor by then.
Do you have any
So,
tips? Do you have any tips for interviewing now that you've done more interviews than most people coming to class?
so nervous this interview. Like, it's crazy. I don't even think I said a full sentence that wasn't like messing it up. But when you get the right editing where you can feel very confident even if you didn't say a complete sentence. Okay, because I think okay, I'm just saying that's just like the overall like ending of it. Like, was that okay? I was able to make it sound like a full sentence because of this. Really, I think that's just also that just be a problem that I have, like just speaking. But thing that I would say is have some notes or like have a couple of questions that are like we have topics, different segments or different things you want to go into flow. You know, you send an outline does not necessarily mean it's going to go that way. It's more just like touch points that in questions that you can ask if you need to, but also keep it as authentic and like real conversation as you can. And it really does, if you're very interested and you pick the right person to talk to, you can easily have a great conversation without having notes. But it's really just like if you want to start it off that way, it's really good to have that. Also, like you've told me before, and I tell this to everybody, like if you have something you need to like edit out, like if you feel like you said something in the you didn't say something right, you need a second, just pause and restate it. Re-say it again because I can go in and I can edit it. Not a big deal. It makes them feel a lot better too. And then also just, I mean, interviewing is probably it's very nerve-wracking, but it could be probably the easiest thing too. Just because like you're just talking as much. You don't have to carry the conversation, but you as long as you're actively listening and not trying to figure out like the next thing to say, and you really are just actively listening, you can have a really engaging conversation.
Yeah. Do you want to share us a little
It's
bit from each episode before we go to shorts?
really stayed true to like what I wanted my show to be.
Part of the grade is making sure that you're being authentic to your brand.
Think,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So episode 2 for me. So I know my episode 1, I had the trailer, then I had my episode 1, which was the interview. I technically am naming this episode 2 now. This was with a wonderful lady named Eli, and she is from Las Vegas, Nevada. And I just okay, you guys, I have a great story for this one. This time I was using Riverside, right, to instead of Zoom. So I used Riverside to record. Well, I was like, all right, I'm gonna have it all edited. I'll have it edited probably by tomorrow. It needs to be it's in by Monday, so it should be out by tomorrow. As soon as I got off the interview, you guys, I looked and I had not recorded it. Not recorded it. It's so embarrassing. Now, let me tell you something. I didn't feel bad because like a day or two later, I didn't feel as bad because I found out that Edward's Aquifer people did the same thing on their podcast. It didn't feel totally stupid, but I gotta tell you, it's really hard to be like, hey, Eli, we have to do that again. I'm so sorry. That was crazy. Real life podcast problems, right?
And you're not
Have you
alone.
ever
As you
done
said,
that,
the Edwards
Professor?
Aquifer are professional public relations
Professional.
professionals have been doing this for years. And they made that
Yes.
mistake too. I think that that's a very common early mistake because it's a habit forming. You're making the habit of hitting the record button. You're making the habit of your pre-flight checklist of making sure that you
Yes.
ask your guests to silence their cell phones. It's all of those
Yes.
little things that add up to your habit, right?
Because of that, I had in my checklist after that for
Good.
sure. and I made sure that we were recording. I also had the countdown so that I made sure we knew it was recording. So yeah, it was great though, because the second time I felt like it was even better just because we had that first run. And it was incredible, honestly. So let's look and see. You said you want to see a couple of like clips from it. Let's look and see really quick. So I have he's in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Added a bunch of embellishments here that we don't often see on people's podcasts. This looks more like a YouTube embellishment, which is great because that's the format we're using, right? You added those embellishments at the beginning. Did you add anything else in the episode? Was there anything about this particular episode that you want to talk about beyond the big lesson of remembering to record?
Yes. Okay. So basically, I think this one needed to have a intro. I think it was like an intro song,
Have
which I had
yeah.
originally had this intro song I got from Sona. And it's an AI that I created this from the beginning. This was also in my trailer. I don't know. Well, yeah, obviously you can't hear it, but it was the same song for my trailer. And it had like my curb culture brand here and everything. So also I'm trying to do my call to actions by adding in the subscribe at the beginning of this one. And I think I even have it at the end. But also another thing I added in this time was that I made Eli do we were tuning in to see Curb Culture. You can get it through Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. Like, so I actually have a little like clip of her doing that. Not in this, but there's like a short that I created from her doing this, and I make them all do it now. And so, yeah, so I have this little play here, but then I also throughout the whole podcast, I am kind of like if she's saying, for instance, she's talking about lows here, I have like a little like clips, kind of just fun clips.
And you built this, you said for social media, you're planning that social media strategy in the
Clips.
podcast episode itself, which we don't often see in a beginning podcast class.
Exactly. I'm thinking bigger picture for sure. Yeah, so I kind of have like, for instance, let's see if I can, let's see, there we go. Pro tip alert. Because this is one of the segments that I have. Like, you need to, it's just the pro tip alert was super cool because, like, now, okay, that's something to listen to, like, tune into. And also, I can clip it.
And I
And
hadn't
then we
seen
keep
anyone
going.
film vertical for their main episode. Usually you have it horizontal for the main episode, and then you go use Adobe Clipmaker or these other clip makers that you talked about to actually create your social clips. But you're starting with the social format as your podcasting format, which I'm sure saves time in the process.
It does for my audience. My audience watches their curve or these episodes on their phone while they're eating. And so it's like kind of what I was thinking when I did this. I also wanted the extra space for the fun little like words there. I have their logo there sometimes. Also, like if I want to have any kind of like images of some sort, I can put it there. But also it's for my people that really my audience. So yeah, then I have, oh, here we go. So this is like, for instance, the Southern Curb Pros. I was shouting out some of our curb painters here. So this is like, for instance, we did, sorry, one second. Let me get to it. To Devin. I did, okay, the then and now. So remember I was telling you about the third segment or the humble curbs. So this was her then and now. Oh, we were talking about Billie Eilish. I'm able to post like her curb then and now, and so that's why I have this extra space. Ooh.
All good. That's fantastic. Do you have any other tips before we move on to your short form videos and your social media strategy?
Basically, like kind of just think ahead when you're doing these. Try to get some really interesting clips together so that you can make shorts and then can promote yourself because I'm getting more traction on my clips than I'm getting on the actual episodes, but it is bringing people to the episodes. And okay, I started with no subscribers and I have 21. Okay, like I know that's nothing, but it's something, and I'm getting something every day. I'm getting a new one. Like I think considering that like my original podcast had no other reviews other than literally who saw it and did a peer review. Like that was it. So I feel like again, I've
And
just created this,
how many curb painters do we have in the world? Like you're so niche
and
and
our
they're finding
community
you.
is so in my community, and I say community, we have a Facebook community. 100. Everybody is in that group, okay? Not even close. A lot of them are on TikTok. A lot of people are emerging. They are so interested. Like I told you, Arena's curb appeal. They have millions and millions and millions of view or likes on TikTok, but they think they have like 500, 600,000 like followers. And people, okay, let me tell you something, another thing. Every single person I've interviewed so far has been inspired by Arenas, and they started because of Arenas. And yeah, and so that said something, but I didn't start because of Arenas. I actually didn't know them until like a couple years later, and they have recognized me as one of the best painters in Texas. And we have like our own relationship with Arenas, but like they're not a part of this, which is okay, but they are creating this movement too, and we're just kind of like piggyback off of it essentially, because we are a huge group of people that are very, very about this. I want to say one more thing too about my curb painting community. Recently, I had a lot of really unfortunate events happen to me in the last like I had not shared it with anybody, social media, nothing like that. But my biggest one was like my transportation was taken away from me, right? I get all my jobs. I decided to share because I had all my curb stuff on the side of the road. Whenever this happened, I had to pull everything out of my car. So, long story short, I posted it, and the feedback I got was insane. And then a couple of my curb painting friends got together, and they actually, sorry, one second, they actually created a not a GoFundMe or anything, but they started donating to try to get my car back.
Wow, what
And
support.
like cry. I mean, it's just like so
Yeah.
special to me. They are amazing. They like literally just, I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't. No, it's never happened to me before. So these people are like incredible. It's like a really
Yeah.
great. We're partnering up with some of them now. And so like I'm helping with his social media and stuff like that. And so we're gonna be like partnering up, and I'm gonna try to use my digital marketing and communication degree to help him his business some more. And then like it's because I can't really drive right now. And so it's one of those things where it's just like he told me it's gonna be okay. And like it is gonna be okay because everyone's like super supportive no matter what. And I'm talking people from all over the country sent me money to help me try to raise them enough. But it didn't end up happening the way it was supposed to, but things happen for a reason. I'm not really upset about it.
The fact that so
Um,
many people gave is so inspiring, though.
No, it is so inspiring, and I've sent them like so many messages, and I've partnered with some of them. Like it opened up doors like I didn't even know were there.
So being vulnerable
So
and showing something that a lot of people do not want to share about their lives
yeah,
actually
and I
opened up
never
doors
do.
for collaboration.
And so like that's kind of even what really like sparked me to like want to share this even more with you and to show you like what your podcast has
Yay!
brought. It's amazing.
And hopefully inspire future students, which is why we're here. We're here to help light the way so that they don't have to struggle quite as much as we struggled.
And like I said, I think I always go through a rebirth. I mean, like it is what it is. I sometimes you have to lose things and then you get them three times better, if not more. So I'm worried about it. I never felt like really a part of a community like I do with this one. So it was
Wonderful.
just like really special.
Awesome.
So, anyways, long story short,
Yeah. We already talked about your audience persona. So let's move to the listener demographic and stats, and we'll just go down this list like you have it. That way it's clear for people watching.
cool. So I created this, I guess, infographic with my Curb Culture podcast. This is like my culture podcast, like I guess brand. So that was on the top. My audience stats. So far I've had 3,415 views on
Don't
my
be
podcast.
discouraged if you're watching Jillian's numbers and thinking, oh no, I only have 20, because 20 is what we usually see here as
Uh,
total views. It's like 20, 24. It's not thousands. So this is an
okay,
outlier
sorry.
experience, not the norm for the class. Go on, Jillian.
So that's cool to know though. And so my total impressions are at 2,275. I've had 32 hours of watch time. And then it looks like my click-through rate's at 4.84%. And then let's see. So it says my audience overview. So what's really cool about YouTube is that you can like go in and you can really dig down into like the audience. Like you can really see who's watching and when and where and how, like all of that. So I was able to find out like I guess the percentage of how many of the age group of who are male and female are watching. That was pretty cool. And it looks like, let's see, primarily, yeah, millennials are mainly who is watching, which I thought was pretty cool. That's my age. And then we have our reels. My reels were getting 90% of its views from my shorts too. 50% were coming from the United States. I had people from all over the world looking.
Isn't that fun to see?
Canada.
That's so fun to see, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Australia, who knows? Maybe these people are curb painters too. You never know. So, guys, that's what I have for that. That was like my listeners, demographics, and stuff. And it looks like I did my performance metrics for my key audience insight. So I had total at the time I had 12 subscribers. It's crazy because I have 21 now. I know it's like I don't know. I feel
It's
like
almost
it's such
double.
a good. Yeah, I can't believe it. I've never had that many subscribers.
Great. It's great.
It looks like I have a really high engagement on my shorts at 87.6%. And yeah, it says like 53% of my listeners are from the US. So yeah.
Say engagement. What does that look like? When you say high engagement, yeah, like does that what tell our audience what actions that includes? Like it's shares, it's likes.
Yeah, so it's probably the likes because I have so many likes from and it's also like the engagement is in views, like they sit there and watch the whole thing or they watch a good percentage of it and not like scroll past it. I'm not 100% sure what engagement means to the world of metadata or whatever it is. Not really totally sure, but like that's just what the YouTube was.
Yeah, so YouTube usually is measuring engagement is exactly what you're talking about. They have a separate measurement for watch time, but for engagement, it's usually likes, shares, click-throughs, those sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah, and so in comments, I'm getting a lot of comments too.
Comments are great.
Yeah, that's engagement. Yeah, and then I think
testimonials.
Your testimonials. My testimonials are great. This little culture testimonials, each episode keep getting, or this is like what somebody else said. Each episode keeps getting better and better. Each person does each thing different, and so it's cool to see that. That was one thing that somebody said. But I was made 2024's neighborhood favorite for 9 neighborhoods.
How does that work?
So I service at least 9 neighborhoods, and out of those 9, I service a lot more, but next door, the app, 9 neighborhoods voted me as one of their top favorite curb painters. So
congratulations.
Really cool. Thank you.
That's awesome.
For 2024. Yeah, it was really cool. And so my testimonials, not necessarily for the podcast, really even. It's just kind of like the podcast, I got a lot of good like comments and stuff, but this is also for just like my work.
And your personal brand.
Yeah, and the brand, yeah, exactly. This is a curb painter that I did their logo for. So those are just, what I put in there as far as like onto my actual like page itself. Yeah, like these are my views and then my shorts. And the ones I got the 1.4 views. So I also have one with 910 views. So this is through Riverside. I made us into aliens, which I thought was so fun. So I'll just play it really quick because it's super short.
Is never get comfortable with being comfortable. You can always do more. You can always get better, and you can always just be the best you can be. I feel like once you get comfortable in something, it becomes plain. But there's always something you can change. Always something you can do better. Yeah, there's always something you can do to just switch up.
Yourself or challenge yourself.
Always challenge yourself. Main thing.
Yeah, it's so fun. And then let me see. The other one, I turned this into babies. It did bring in a lot of views and a couple comments and some likes, but we're turned into babies. That's funny.
The movie The Outsiders by chance?
Yes, my daughter is obsessed with The Outsiders.
I painted the house in the movie, the memorial house, or like Tom Cruise was in it. Like it's just like the stage house. Yeah. I got to paint that curb.
Wait. You got to paint that actual house?
Yes, it's the actual house.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason why that got a lot of views is because I was able to like tagged like the Outsiders movie, hashtagged all of their stars, and then obviously curb painting and curb appeal and all that stuff. And so that brought a lot of views. That was the first one that I got a lot of views in, and I thought it was really cool. And like, what a cool little story is she got to do a famous house essentially. They hired her, like they found her and hired her. I thought that was super cool. So, and it's only going to get better. I know that there's a lot of other curb painters that have even amazing stories too. So I see it getting bigger. I really just like let AI help me with this a little bit because I wasn't totally sure how it all should go down. But I mean, affiliate partnerships and commission based, like I think that the affiliates or partnerships is something that I could easily get actual partnerships with. For instance, any of my, like for instance, like if anybody ever says, hey, like this is a specific curb painting I use or something, I use my affiliate links and stuff like that, and I'll like clip it into the actual description. That way that if anybody wants to use that, like they can go in there and have that specific product. So it's a way to try to make like monetize your podcast. Also, like I think giving away and contest prizes, that's part of my school. Right, like throughout the month they have these leaders on engagement, right, for school. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing curb culture shirts and curb culture like gear and giving that away to our top leaders once it actually starts getting going and stuff like that. And like the branded mini series is another thing that we easily could do, and it kind of like goes off with the sponsored segments and stuff like that. Like I could change these segments into something that's a little more sponsored, like with maybe specifically Rust-Oleum or iron lac. I'm actually trying to get an iron lac chip right now. So like a lot of the important information that we don't want to lose, I put as saved it so that I can use it later. Because of course I'm going to continue, and I don't want to have to like go off of just base knowledge like from my head. I really needed to make sure I had some of this saved. So any
Awesome.
important information I have, I will use and continue to use. And I thank you for all of that.
Yeah, that's great. So Jillian, advice do you have for people who are about to take this class? Words of inspiration or advice for our future students?
First of all, niche down, you guys. Like that has got to be the best advice anybody can have, is to narrow it down to something specific, because you can get so much more valuable content that way. You can be reached better. Like people will follow you because of that specific that you are podcasting about. People don't want to hear such a broad, I guess, broad topic that like you can get anything from that, or you could go in so many directions with such a broad topic. So when you niche down, I mean, it's like, okay, I'm here for that. That's what I'm here for. I'm going to learn about this, and this is cool, like whatever it is. That helped me tremendously. And it's just kind of what I noticed from just even the other podcasts, like it kind of made it stand out a little bit more. And I was able to really go hard. Like, I feel like I've done so much because I decided I need to niche down, right? The other thing I would say is comes to our peer reviews and engaging, like I think that it would do you better to really, really not be so like funny and nice. Give some people some better constructive criticism, because it is going to help us. I feel like I could have used a little more criticism than just like you did a good job. It would have made me really like work harder, do more. It would have given me a little bit more direction on like what I really should be working on, because I know I wasn't perfect. But no, you guys, stop being so nice. Let's do a little more criticism, okay? Because it really does help us. Constructive criticism, of course.
So making sure that we're giving constructive advice, citing things from the podcast that they actually said or did that you want to see improved.
Right. Yes, exactly. So I felt like it was just very surface level. And so I think that if you guys like engage a little more, it'll do people that really do sit there and hope that they comment on their podcast. It gives them a little more stuff to work, like leverage to work with or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it's more helpful that way.
And we
Um,
ask people, right? We ask people to give more critical feedback. We say, do an
yeah.
appreciation, edit suggestions. We have a format
So
for feedback. But a lot of people don't
yeah,
have the guts to say, hey, here's some things you can work on. But that's what we want. That's what we want people to do. So it's wonderful that you're reminding them to be more critical, of course, with kindness, because it is kind to be critical because you're giving them
absolutely.
something that's going to make them better ultimately.
Exactly. And I was always the kind that if I did get it, I was like, thank you. Like, and I don't have to necessarily agree, but essentially, it's just more like thank you and just take it and move on. And we all can make each other better by just being more engaged and actually like giving a little more level, like more than a surface level response. And that's like my best advice, I guess. But also, true to your brand throughout the whole thing. If you're really passionate about it, keep true to it and try to build the community around it. Try to get involved in the communities that are already there with whatever your subject is, because I mean, I have so much support now that I've ever had in my whole life through this community and like even my professors and stuff that I appreciate.
And we appreciate your engagement, Jillian. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your experience and sharing your growth, because I think the story of growth that you present here, from AI and personal branding to podcasting, I think that's going to inspire people to want to create their own
So,
communities and create their own podcasts and create the kind of momentum that you've created in the curb painting culture.
yes, I agree. I think I wanted to come here to talk about that because you have changed my whole like your classes have changed like everything for me. So I'm curious, Professor.
Appreciate that. I
Sorry.
appreciate that so much. We invest years and years trying to make courses better, and each person contributes to it. And this conversation contributes to making that course better too, because people can see what it meant to you, the emotion. They can feel your emotion and say, "Hey, I want something that's meaningful to me too. I want something that moves the needle for me in a way that I can really truly feel, the way it does for Jillian."
Yeah, thank you. Well, you can find me on Crew Culture. I just look up YouTube and please like and subscribe if you can. Definitely follow my journey because it's only going to get better. And yeah, and you'll be able, I mean, honestly, like if anyone, college students are great for this kind of industry if you want to make extra money. And my first week, I made $500. First week. And like that was me knowing nothing. So you don't have to be like creative. You seriously can just use stencils, and as long as you can just spray, you're good. I would just say take this class totally seriously and make sure to keep notes for after the class, because if you don't, you will lose all this great information. Keep it with what you'll need that you can continue on. And yeah, and you're the best person to learn from, man. You
Appreciate you, Jillian.
support. This means a lot to me. I'm able to use this in so many different aspects of my life. I think that also it's very innovative. It's very like with the time, like, no, it means so much to me. And I even have some curb painters coming to my graduation. So that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Jillian, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Jillian Paints Curbs, Jillian Paints, and Jillian Cormier. But Jillian Paints Curbs is going to be the best one. I have Curb Culture. There's a Facebook group. I have a YouTube. I have a school, all called Curb Culture. TikTok is Jillian Paints. I mean, just Jillian Paints. You can find me online anywhere. Google me all over Google. So
And if you want to hire Jillian as a brand strategist or a marketeer, you can also go to those websites to see her work, right?
I will send you my portfolio to link as well too, hopefully. So find me, just Google Jillian Paints and you will find all kinds of stuff for that. So yes, thank you.
Awesome. Jillian, thank you so much for your time, for taking the time to share your journey and your wisdom from that journey and your inspiration to people who are
Thank
about to
you.
start the podcasting class or even the AI and personal branding class.